For the better part of 20 years, nearly 20 years actually, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick had their reign of terror, their Death Star over the NFL and the AFC, winning 6 Super Bowl titles together, winning the AFC countless times. Yes, that weak-ass AFC at the time. But once Tom Brady finally decided to take his talents to Tampa Bay, it was, well, not much of a surprise that the Patriots suffered a drop-off in 2020, going 7-9 with Cam Newton under center and surrendering the AFC East to the rising Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. So Bill Belichick, the GM, decided to go on a spending spree last year, netting the likes of Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, Sean Aguilar to bolster the offense. And defensively, they acquired Matthew Judon, Jalen Mills, and Kyle Van Noy, which, by the way, is a returning Patriots player. But, of course, the big offseason move for New England was what they did in the draft. At number 15, literally waiting in the wings, was their quarterback of the future, Alabama's Mac Jones. Obviously, going in to the draft, everyone thought it was going to be Mac Jones going to the 49ers. But, well, we knew what happened there. Trey Lance went to the 49ers, and then Justin Fields went to the Bears, and then literally Bill Belichick didn't have to do anything. It was like literally the Luigi wins by doing absolutely nothing meme for Bill Belichick, because he didn't have to do jack shit. He didn't have to trade up to get Mac Jones. He didn't have to do anything. He literally got him at number 15, just where he predicted. Just kidding. So he actually did get some solid pieces that would turn into key contributors in Christian Barmore, defensive tackle, and running back Ramondre Stevenson. So Mac Jones did end up winning the starting job over Cam Newton in the preseason, and Newton was released before the season started. But, you know, Mac Jones, I think I mentioned this in my filthy casual scouting last year. I mentioned that I like Mac Jones as a Tom Brady like clone with his passing and his decision making. But the problem was, well, in the modern NFL, where everyone's running out of the pocket, everyone's mobile. Yeah, being a pocket passer may not help you out in the long term. But, well, either way, still questions about how Mac Jones would do in real-time action, but either way, it was the beginning of a new era for Patriots football. But it was kind of rough in the early portions. The Patriots went 1-3, enduring some growing pains on offense, and that included some rookie growing pains for Mac Jones. That included some badly timed turnovers that would cost them games against the Dolphins in the opener and the New Orleans Saints 2 games later. So, also during this period, while not much of a highlight, because they lost that game, they did get to witness the return of an old favorite. Their old, I guess you could call husband, Tom Brady. Yeah, Tom Brady came back in the prime time, the big game of the regular season. Yes, Bill Belichick versus Tom Brady, the Tampa Bay Bucks versus the New England Patriots in Week 4. So Tom Brady didn't have really much of an electric game, but he still managed to return home and face his old team. You know, got some cheers before the game, and then obviously during the game got jeered. I mean, in tradition, but the Bucks managed to get the win over Brady's old team. So by midseason, the Patriots were 2-4, but after that point, they turned their fortunes around. The defense played much better, especially from the likes of corner J.C. Jackson, the tackle Christian Barmore, safety Adrian Phillips, Kyle Duggar, and linebacker Matthew Judon. The defense intensified in generating turnovers, pressuring the quarterback. Again, that secondary was very good in coverage and limited the amount of passing plays that were made. The pass rush did very good at netting some timely sacks to get them off the field on third downs. And on offense, you know, Mac Jones looked solid at times with his throws and pocket awareness. But again, there were still some times where it reminded everyone that, you know, he's still a rookie. He's still a rookie learning. As such, Josh McDaniels used the solid running game of Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson and Brandon Bolden to take some of that load off of him. Now, again, during the stretch, most of the teams that they beat were pretty much scrubs, like the Panthers, the Browns, the Titans. Yes, even the Titans were scrubs, and the Falcons. And by the way, they shut out the Falcons, so it's no surprise that they kicked their ass. So the problem was, though, like, despite beating these teams, the offense would have one too many slow starts because of what Josh McDaniels was doing to protect Mac Jones. So sure, the Patriots during this stretch before their bye week would end up being the Buffalo Bills, albeit in terrible win conditions. And then they ended up taking command of the AFC East during their bye week when the Bills lost to the Bucs a couple days later. So, Patriots fans were thinking, oh, we're back in the AFC East. We're going to take over the division now, pal. So the Patriots seemed like they were back. Yes, because, well, they were playing better football. The Bills were on a downward trend because of inconsistent offensive play, and they lost a key piece of their defense in Tre'Davious White. But their own problems would begin because they would lose to the Colts in a key matchup when they came back on a Saturday night. They lost to the Bills at home in the Bills' revenge game, and they lost a season finale to the Miami Dolphins when the Dolphins were already eliminated, and that game would end up costing them the AFC East. Well, actually, it was the Bills game that would cost them the AFC East, but still, the Patriots ended up having to play their wild card game in Buffalo against the Bills, and, well, yeah, we all know what happened there. It was a total ass kicking by Buffalo in all phases in that first round game. The defense for the Patriots allowed Josh Allen and the offense to score on every single possession of that game. Yes, that entire a team that's led by a defensive coach and Bill Belichick did absolutely nothing, absolutely nothing to prepare for that game, and they literally let Josh Allen steamroll that team, steamroll them. It's like Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne were the only ones that were able to show up. I mean, sure, 14 garbage time points, but sure, they still managed to make some good throws in that game, but they were just thoroughly dominated in that game. Probably one of the most lopsided playoff games I've ever seen. So, yes, completely down way to end the season for New England, but I guess you could say you could be a little bit encouraged by the flashes Mac Jones offered this year. Sure, some things to work on, but he clearly was the best quarterback in this draft class by a mile, with his intelligence, his throwing ability, and you did see him run. So don't like he proved me wrong. He proved me damn wrong. He can freaking run. So he can get out of the damn pocket, okay? So I also got some steals in the draft with Christian Barmore and Ramondre Stevenson, both of whom showed valuable production for the Patriots. So overall, a solid season for New England and Bill Belichick, and you just have to hope that Mac Jones gets even better in year 2. But to do that, you got to give him some help. So going to the offseason, you didn't really have, honestly, much money to spend. You only had around $8 million going into the offseason. Going out of it, after the first week of free agency, you have around $10 million right now as we speak. Some of your key free agents include safety Devin McCourty, right tackle Trent Brown, linebacker Dante Hightower, and linebacker Kyle Van Noy. Some of their key offseason moves was, well, they lost their offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels to the Las Vegas Raiders because he accepted their head coaching position. So it remains to be seen how Josh McDaniels would do in Vegas in his second ever head coaching stint, his first ever one since 2009. So either way, let's see how he does in his second chance. And perhaps their biggest loss was, besides McDaniels, was J.C. Jackson. Yes, they lost their corner J.C. Jackson to the LA Chargers. It's going to be a big boost to that LA defense, but perhaps a big loss for that secondary for the Patriots. So, honestly, other than that, the Patriots, in contrast to last year, they didn't make a big splash this year. At least not right now, at least. So perhaps they're focusing on the draft, and it's probably because they don't have much money to spend, and probably because they wasted it all last year. So some of the things that they need to address going forward before the start of the season is they have to upgrade at wide receivers. Yes, they invested heavily at wide receiver last year, but yeah, their signings proved to be mostly total bust. Every addition that they added besides Kendrick Bourne was a flop. Yes, and the options are running thin for Bill Belichick. Sure, there's still a few cheap options that they could bring in the free agent market, but what they need is a downfield threat in the draft. They need someone to stretch the field, get Mac Jones to strike on his deep throws, but they need that downfield threat for Mac Jones to stretch the field and, you know, give him some options on what kind of passes he should throw. They should also draft a corner or two to replace the loss of J.C. Jackson. And sure, the Patriots might not be able to find one in round one or round two, but there's still some solid options. And the free agent market still kind of flooded with some corners still holding out hope for a big contract. So for the Patriots, you know, they saw some hope for optimism in year one with Mac Jones. The thing is, though, they still got to give him some help. If they give him a number one receiver in the draft, mainly a downfield threat, they build that defense back up, especially considering they lost J.C. Jackson, and you don't know if like their key free agents like Dante Hightower and Van Noy are going to come back and play another year. Then New England might be able to compete again for a playoff spot in the AFC, because again, this AFC is going to be an onslaught. Year two could be better for Mac Jones, and who knows? If the Patriots can make these moves, who knows? The AFC could face some mac and cheese in 2022.